All right, I can barely fit myself here in the shot. So this is the Xiaomi Mi Curved gaming monitor. It's 34 inches. The resolution is 3440 by 1440p. So what is great about this particular monitor here, it has a 4 millisecond response time for this resolution. It's fairly decent. It's not going to set any records. And of course, it has a refresh rate, which is very high, 144 Hz. So for such a gaming monitor here, you're going to need some beefy hardware, of course, to power this. And the new NVIDIA RTX 3000 series, for example, the 3080, is going to be ideal for driving such a monitor with your AAA titles as Far Cry 5 I'm having a look at here. But of course, this is not just for gaming. It can also be used for professional use. And it does have a very decent color gamut coverage, which I will show you in this review, along with my experience and a few other things, unboxing, after using this now for well over a week. So the price of this one does vary. At the time of this video, it is selling for now about 390 euros, but sometimes you have to pay for the postage, other times you do not. So the price is going to be up and down, but normally it is below about 450 euros, which is fairly decent for this spec of monitor. So this comes in a really big box. I mean, it's massive. I could barely fit it on top of my table. Really well packaged. It's very easy to assemble. So you do actually just need to assemble the stand. Now, this particular stand here is made out of metal, and the base of it as well. And there's just one screw that you need to tighten up to get this on, and it's not really an issue to do it. And then it simply just clips into place, the monitor. So we get inside the box a display cable. We get various different screws here, so it can be VESA mounted, a warranty card, power cable, and an instruction manual. So the curved Mi gaming monitor has a very sleek, nice looking design, very good build quality and finish to it, typical Xiaomi. Now the stand itself does have a magnetic cover over it for cable management, which is absolutely fantastic. I love this design. And the back too has a cover as well where your cables go in. So for our inputs here, we've got 2 HDMIs, 2 display ports, and there's also audio out. So there are no actual speakers in this particular monitor. The controls are rather simple, so we have a power on button and then 4 menu keys. And it's fairly straightforward to go through the on-screen display, set yourself up. And like all on-screen displays, it's sometimes a little bit fiddly, I do find, but the button quality is also very good. So this stand lets us move it to the left and to the right a fair amount, as you can see right now. It's quite a lot. And you can also push it down very low for those that like to use it in a low down position, and then raise it up quite high. What it cannot do is tilt left and right. So our on-screen display, the on-screen menu here, we've got picture-in-picture control. So yes, you could set up having, for example, an Xbox 360 on one, have your PC on your other. We've got our smart modes here. So this is standard, it's just different color modes, tweaking well of the sharpness and the response time and noise reduction. That is also possible. Now this particular monitor here has a 4 millisecond response time. Now that for a 1440p monitor is not the best in the world, but it's still very good. Now there's all sorts of typical settings in here, like under picture, for example, your sharpness, your brightness controls, your contrast, all of that can be adjusted within the on-screen display menu. So when you watch 16:9 content, which is your typical YouTube videos, like the ones in my channel, you are going to have these ugly black borders, the black bars left and right. This of course is normal because it is a 21:9 aspect ratio monitor. But when you watch a movie that is, for example, in 21:9, you won't have this issue. It fits the screen then perfectly. So with this particular monitor, I'm not seeing any ghosting. I'm not seeing the mouse pointer trail behind. No issues at the 144 Hz refresh rate. So with Windows, of course, you can run various different windows side by side to increase your productivity. And this is great being able to do this. You can just fit so much more on screen than, say, a 16:9 monitor. The higher resolution does give us plenty of space, so it is good for productivity. But what about the color coverage, the color gamut? Let's have a look at that now. Just before we do, I wanted to point out that there is a little bit of light leakage that I can see depending on the colors being displayed. So right now I'm going through the calibration here with my Spider 5 Pro, which I do on all of my monitors, and you can see it's not evenly distributed perfectly. It actually looks worse here on camera than it does in real life. I don't find it to be that bad at all. And again, it's only when you're really looking at a solid color that you will notice this difference with the shadowing on the edges and a little bit of backlight bleed. Now the brightness is very good, so measuring right in the center, it is 360 nits as per their claim. On the edges, I noticed it dips down then to about 340 to 330 nits, but for a matte screen, it is bright. So the outer box calibration, uncalibrated right now it is calibrated, wasn't brilliant. So I definitely recommend for professionals out there, do calibrate this monitor first. So we've got a 99% sRGB coverage here. So that is good. Their claim's 121%, NTSC is 81%, Adobe RGB is 85%, and P3 coverage is 88%. So all up for professional use, this is good. It's not the best, but it is still quite good. So what about gaming? This is what this monitor was intended for. 21:9 aspect ratio. It is super immersive. The curvature, this is the 1500R, is great. I thought it might be a little bit too much, but no. Once I start gaming on this, the anti-glare, the lack of glare on this screen, 144 Hz, it just looks amazing. And I've been enjoying this so much. I've just been gaming so much on this screen when I'm not editing my videos, of course. So you do need some very powerful hardware, a really good GPU to be able to drive, at least with the AAA titles like Far Cry, to be able to maintain that 144 frames per second means that yes, you're going to need a top tier, top of the line GPU for this. And it does, of course, support FreeSync, AMD FreeSync, and that helps cut down on screen tearing when the frame rate dips below that 144 that you're probably aiming for. All right, so after my week now of using this, build quality excellent. I love the flexibility with the fact that this thing angles away so much. This is really, really good. A lot of monitors don't allow this flexibility, which is really good that Xiaomi's been able to do this with the design. Screen goes up high enough for anyone. If you've got quite a high seat, then that is ideal. You can push it down very low if that's the way you like to work there. Cable management, very good. On-screen controls do take a while to get used to. The on-screen controls I find a little bit frustrating at times, especially when I go back to adjust the brightness, having not used the on-screen controls for, say, 3 or 4 days. You're like, and then you make a mistake, you've got to go back again. But most on-screen controls are a little bit like that, a little bit painful. So split screen option, there's plenty of options in there for your colors, color gamut coverage, as I showed you. So 85% Adobe RGB is very good. And then we get 99% sRGB. Overall, for professional use, it's going to be fine. Now, the out-of-the-box calibration is quite off, okay? So I really kind of expected this, but you'll be probably using a tool to calibrate all your monitors anyway. The professionals out there in the channel will be doing that, so that's not really an issue. But for gaming, the calibration is fine. You've got the various different modes there too, which of course change that. Now, response time, very good. Ghosting on the screen, I'm not seeing any issues that I can complain about. In terms of looking at this with the curvature, the glare is very, very good. Anti-glare coating, so I'm not having any problems with that. Very easy on my eyes. I've been using this thing until 3 o'clock in the morning editing some of my videos, especially the recent week I've had with a lot of releases like the Poco X3 NFC. I was using this and it didn't tire my eyes out as much as, say, my Asus monitor that I have as well. And if you're into the higher resolution, you want one of these 21:9 aspect ratio monitors, I think it's very, very good, especially for this right here. So for gaming, it is really immersive. I wasn't really convinced. I mean, this is my first 21:9 aspect ratio monitor, the ultrawide here. And I just thought I like 16:9 because I create content, I edit in 16:9 aspect ratio. But gaming, when you game like this, it is, I won't go as far to say it's a game changer, no, but having it either side of you and the 1500R curvature that this particular screen, this monitor has, is really, really immersive. And I'm just enjoying gaming like all over again. Just playing some of these games is great. Of course, there is an obvious big con here. Driving such a resolution, 3440 by 1440, you do need powerful hardware, especially for AAA titles like Far Cry 5 that I'm showing right here. You are going to need a beefy GPU. So it will be perfect for those new NVIDIA RTX 3000 series releases coming soon. Of course, that's why I said that in the start there, I think it's going to be ideal for that. But that's a con. You do need to have a good GPU to drive this particular monitor here. But if you're not gaming, then you don't. Not gaming, you can do your Windows with your particular laptop. That's all going to be fine. So build quality, check. Everything's checked. But what are the cons? Everything's obviously not going to be perfect. There's a little bit of light leakage that I see, some, depending on what I'm looking at, like a constant gray or red color. You will see that it's just a little bit dimmer around some areas here. but it is very, very, very minimal on my particular unit here. Maximum brightness, 360 nits, checks all boxes. I measured it here, 360, over here was about 330, up the top here about 340. So it does vary a little bit, but overall it's quite an even backlight that is on this particular display. So that is another positive there. It is really, really good. Now there's no things like USB hubs on this, which would have been nice if we had, say, USB ports along here. And some people might say that, oh, it should have had VGA on here for analog, but who's really using that now? I know some people still are, but no, not me personally. And yeah, the cable's the way it's all tucked up. Everything about this just screams quality, and I have other brands like Asus with monitors, and I did have a Philips 4K one before, and this thing's on par, same kind of level with them. So really, it does come recommended. It is expensive. This ordered from Banggood is about, currently at the time of this video, about 450 euros there. So that's something, of course, to factor in when you're looking around for monitors. So thank you so much for watching this review here, and I do hope to see you back in the channel with more up and coming videos.